Good evening. We will begin the meeting. First, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Thornton, can we replace the staff on the flag so we have a topper?
Yes.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda. Motion by Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Ms. Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 6-0, and for the record, we will note that Mrs. Friedman is absent this evening. I'd also like to welcome Council President Michael Kinch to the meeting tonight. Always a pleasure to have you. Next is the consent agenda. I'm sorry. Yes, we already did the approval. Next is the consent agenda. Item A is the approval of minutes from the regular meeting from 8/10/2023, the special meeting minutes from 8/16/2023, the approval of minutes from the executive session on 8/10/2023, the Cumberland Student Parent Handbooks, all schools, the Cumberland Student Athlete and Parent Handbook, the Cumberland Interscholastic Coach Handbook. Just need a motion unless if anyone has any questions about any of those items. Motion by Mrs. Feather, second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Passes 6-0. Next is the personal announcements. Mrs. Dresnick.
Good evening. Tonight we have the appointment of 12 teachers and 2 paraprofessionals. Effective on 8/30 for the teachers are Elizabeth Chafee, grade 3 teacher, 1 year only at BF Norton. Elena Chambrello, a speech language pathologist, 1 year only at McCourt and CHS. Mark DePippo, a STEM teacher at Cumberland High School. Elizabeth Finneran, MLL teacher at Cumberland High School. Sarah Headley, kindergarten at Community. Lucia Marino, MLL teacher at Cumberland High School. Lillian O'Hara, special educator, resource at Community. Michelle Percival, ELA Essentials, North Cumberland Middle School, 1 year only. Denise Perrin, special educator, resource at Cumberland High School. Madison Rabbit, kindergarten teacher, Garvin, 1 year only. And Madison was previously a paraprofessional with us, so she did submit her resignation as a paraprofessional. Catherine Salvador, ELA Essentials at McCourt, 1 year only. And Jill Wyson, special educator, IAIM, Cumberland Hill, 1 year only. And then effective 9/1/2023 for paraprofessional in the ALP classroom are Gina Corsetti and Tyler Kernick. And then resignations, Taylor Donahue, teacher in the preschool. Amber Duffy, paraprofessional 1-to-1 at North Cumberland Middle School. Casey Fascio, school counselor at BF Norton. Miranda Gill, paraprofessional at BF Norton. Madison Salvatore, ELA Essentials at North Cumberland Middle School. Marissa Sarabian, special education success at BF Norton. Carrie Texera, paraprofessional at North Cumberland Middle School. And an unpaid personal leave of absence starting 9/15 through the end of the school year is Heather Thorburn, grade 6 English at McCourt.
Thank you. Just 1 second. Mr. Collins has a question.
Mr. Resnick, same question every week. With school fast approaching, how many vacancies do we currently have?
We currently have 20 vacancies that we're trying to fill.
Any high needs areas that you're having trouble filling?
It's still special education.
Next, we have this report out of executive session meeting. Report out of the executive session from tonight, 8/24/2023. There were no votes taken. I do need a vote to seal the minutes of the executive session. By Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Ms. Smith. All in favor? Aye. That passes 6-0. Next is the superintendent's report. Dr. Thornton.
Good evening, school committee, Mr. Chair. Mike, take it away. First up, as you may know, we have a backpack event at BF Norton Elementary, Saturday, 10 a.m. So that's always a fun event for folks in town. So please go if you need support there. Next up, enrollment. That's the sheet we work on. It can change hourly. That's our elementary sheet, just to kind of wind the clock back and just kind of reorient you. As you recall, last spring we added some jobs unbudgeted. We added at Ashton a K on 1 of the 3 classroom as more students came in. A few weeks back we added a 4th K at Garvin and a 3rd grade 3 at BF, once again because of increased enrollment. Right now we have the 99 teachers, and we have over 2,200 students K to 5. So that's quite a few. That's around 98 more students than this time last year elementary. So it's good. They keep coming in. So right now we have flexibility, as you can see, in some of the areas in K now, adding that 4th K. You can see Cumberland Hill is closed and BF is closed, but there's room at community. There's some room at Garvin now with our 4th K as like a safety valve. The one concern I'm watching right now is grade 2. Look at grade 2. You can see it's closed at Garvin, closed at Cumberland Hill, closed at community, closed at Ashton. We have some seats at BF. So right now, that's the concern looking at that. We have, as you know, the portal. We have around 29 students in the portal right now, so we have to kind of process those and see how we do. So if it gets tighter, I might add a grade 2 as well, but we're not there just yet. At the middles, in terms of enrollment, right now at McCourt, we're 21 more students than last year, and we're at North, we have 1 more student than last year. So we're plus 22 at the middle. High school, we are gaining enrollment, but we're still down 52. We were down more than that a few weeks back. So right now, all in all, we're plus 68. And then at in preschool, we're about plus 80 in counting. So that's good in terms of state aid and all those calculations. So they keep coming in from different locations, out of state, charter to public, all kinds of situations happening. I actually ran into a family at Garvin yesterday at the construction site. They're coming in from New Hampshire. So all kinds of stories with enrollment right now. So it's a good situation. We keep growing. We're, as you saw in the news last week, I think Rhode Island's losing enrollment. That's not the case in Cumberland. We are gaining enrollment. So before I go any further, happy to answer any questions on enrollment.
Mr. Collins?
I do have a question. I actually heard from a parent this week about returning from BVP. Do you have a number on how many students, based on performance of the Cumberland School Department or whatever factors, how many students have actually, are we losing students to BVP or are we making a net gain on BVP, former BVP students?
I won't have the net number until the first billing period in September. We actually find out how many are going. I can tell you we have 24 that are coming back to us. I can't net that out until I get the actual bill for the first quarter. So say the second meeting in September, I can give you the actual delta of that.
Excellent, thank you.
So moving on from enrollment, that's the middle enrollment. I'll just go through that, Mike, thank you. And schedule, I know folks ask about schedules. We're publishing schedules Wednesday, August 30. They are published, so look for your schedules at that point in time. Next, Mike. And then just to remind folks about the calendar, you can see September 5th, first day for students, elementary 1 through 5, middle school 6-8, and high school grade 9. The next day, on the 6th, we have pre-K, and then up to 12, so everyone's in school on that. And down below, you can see links that are going live. The first one, more importantly, I know than most other things, bus routes. They are live right now. As you recall from last year, these go to the police station for safety checks, and then they come back to the committee, as you know, during the course of the fall to have you guys officially approve the bus stops. As you can imagine, we sometimes have to tweak or modify locations, that kind of thing. But we wanted to publish them right now as we have them, and we kind of take it from there. Also down below, you can see if you need info on start end times, it's there. Food service, lunch information is there, Alphabet is there, so all for your review. And last, we're in the home stretch of school construction, but first, before we go there, McCourt has new bleachers. You authorized this last spring, and that's what it looks like. So the bleachers, as you recall, were unsafe at McCourt, and so now we have new bleachers at McCourt, so that's exciting. That's completed. Next, Garvin is picking up the pace dramatically, and yes, Garvin's going to open on time. This is a pole going in. All the light poles are in now. The tar in the front driveway, that's today. Doing that as we speak. The glass windows in the front, Ms. Smith, are in and secured. The roof is put in, the new membrane roof over what was the old cafeteria. That was finalized today. The bathrooms are completely renovated. That's an example of a bathroom with the stalls clean, new bathrooms throughout the building. The windows really kind of pop, but here I wanted to show you kind of the casement work. That now kind of gives you a nice finish in all the locations. The windows are in, that's one of the Da Vinci rooms, that's the window view looking in. The furniture's come in. You can see teacher desk, shelving, a locking teacher cabinet, and desks and chairs are off camera there, but that's all come in. Whiteboards are being installed today. They were scheduled to come in, I think, on the 28th. They came in early, and they're being hung as we speak. So the folks are working nights, weekends, so it's really picking up. That's what it looks like. That's one finished whiteboard with a tack board next to it. It's a nice, clean look. The clocks also are atomic clocks, so they actually all now are on the same time at Garvin, which is good to have. The ceiling, you remember at Cumberland Hill, which Mr. Fiorello loves, is in place in the main foyer area, so that's in place. The lights now get hung. That's just we're putting in the topsoil, going into the new cafeteria. That's all being spread. And this doesn't look like much, but it's exciting. That's the new gym floor. They poured it, and now they have to put a second coat on, then they stripe it, and that'll be the new that kind of soft, forgiving gym floor in Garvin. That's what it looks like, first coat. Over at Community, a lot of work outside going on. That's the view from Sun Valley. You can see there's a water retention pond, or as they call it, a rain garden today. The trees are being put in. Light pole has to go in still over there. That's happening this week. Next, Mike. And some trees are being put in the parking area. That's another view of the rain garden area. A lot of drainage going on over there. That's the side view off to the side of the driveway, another water retention area. Big change in the landscape at Community. Parking lot, second coat going down as we finish today. The fencing went in. The new fencing at the playground is in. It's 5 feet high, and it's a nice kind of ornate fence. And as you recall, we did make repairs to the playground, but the new playground goes in, I think next spring it's slated, but that's the new fence around the current playground. That is in. This is a change order we did. As you know, we'll sometimes do change orders. The original scope of Community was to tar everything, but leave that, don't do that. It was not a good look. So we added it, you approved it. That was the change order we did to make the entire thing look clean and, and new. That's the driveway going around. One thing that'll still probably happen mid-September is they're putting a special paint down under that canopy. A colorful kind of paint goes underneath there. That's going to happen. And the bollards there will have color. They have a plastic sleeve going on them. That's happening also. And basketball, we have a new play area at Community now. It's a court. That's one view. That's the other view. Now, it's not NBA regulation, but it is a good size for elementary. So that's the court, the new play area for kids. And benches to sit at the playground area. And the kitchen, that's the new kitchen at Community. Community, as you recall, had a kitchen in the basement. So that is now the kitchen. I should mention for the record, Mr. Jesus and his team had to disassemble some coolers that wouldn't fit up the stairs and reassemble them up the stairs. It took a day. It was a huge effort, so they should really be commended. It was quite the feat, so that was done this week. That's a classroom in the new addition, what it looks like. Furniture just came in, not set up yet, but you can see what it looks like. Fresh, clean look, new classroom. And some things you really can't see, but it's exciting to Mike and I. It's a new fire alarm at Community. That's what part of it. That's part of the work. And the gym, just as a reminder, we have ordered noise canceling tiles for the gym. They'll probably come in, we're thinking end of September is the time frame right now for the gym and for the music area. So that's want to remind folks they are coming in. And once again, another view of the playground with some trees, some new trees in the front. And that's it. Any questions on the construction?
Mrs. Rogalski?
First, I just want to commend everyone for the hard work getting it, I mean, just even the change in the last 2 weeks in the photos, everything looks fantastic. 2 questions. I see that we are approving a resolution tonight for furniture for Garvin for the additional classroom. There's no concern about furniture being delayed. Is it going to be in time?
Right now, we're going to use some of the existing K furniture and swap it out with the new. It's about a 4 to 6 week lead time, so we'll use existing K and swap it.
And my next question, actually, a parent approached me with this. On the community, the outside window, outside the cafeteria, how it's built to basically reflect the sunlight instead of allow it in to heat up. I think it's a low dispersion glass or low E, some kind of. But there is a concern with the sunlight and the windows themselves becoming very hot to the touch with that film on there. And I wasn't sure if that was something that had been, I'm assuming it has been discussed or considered, but I just kind of wanted to put it to you to ask.
I'll have to check on that. I'm not aware, are they hot to the touch as in like unsafe or?
Yes, as an unsafe, because when it reflects the sunlight, she was saying, her husband's an engineer, I believe, and she was saying when it reflects the sunlight, it can actually create really hot temperatures enough to melt things, so.
I will ask that question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Dr. Thornton. Next is the report of standing committees. First is the Fiscal Management Subcommittee update. Mr. Collins.
Fiscal Management Subcommittee met this evening. We have no bills. We did not have any bills this evening, but we do have 8 resolutions for the entire committee later on, so a very quick meeting this evening.
Next is the Policy and Procedures Subcommittee update. We did meet on Tuesday evening. We discussed the dual enrollment program up at the high school. We're going to make some more changes to that policy and further discussions on it, and we will bring that back in September, I'm sure. We also discussed the, G3, the policy on personnel dress code. We discussed loosening the dress code a little bit to actually allow teachers and teaching assistants to wear a little more denim than, right now it's completely not allowed except for on certain special dress down days, but it's not realistic in this day and age. We will be putting, high standards on the quality of the denim that's being used, so everybody still looks professional. So that'll be done hopefully again in September. There was also, I'm forgetting what the third one is, and I don't have my notes in front of me. What was it? What? Yeah, but there was another item. Oh, there was a discussion of the attendance policy up at the high school. Unfortunately, the high school administration was not able to be there, so that there was no action taken on that. We actually do not have any votes for policy tonight. Everything was either tabled or taken no action. Do we have someone to speak on the achievement meeting from last week? Was there a meeting last week? Okay, Mr. Collins.
Achievement met last week. We discussed, we had Ms. Jamie Miller in from the Assistant Superintendent's office to discuss the Essentials program at the middle school level. So some of the changes, some of the initiatives they're working on. One of the things they were looking, sometimes when kids end up in Essentials, it's designed to kind of supplement what they're learning in math and ELA. She was giving us some data on its effectiveness. We look at some of the curriculum, and she was talking about kind of tweaking certain things. So that was the focus of achievement, and we're going to be meeting, I think, next month. We're going to get back, I believe, to the schools, so with achievement. So it was a nice little update on the Essentials program and the importance of how, one of the big takeaways from it was when you look at individual scores and how the Essentials has really helped move the entire district forward, because one of the things we look at with RICAS scores is the kids who fall into the partially meets expectations, and how effective it has been in bringing this entire district forward by helping these students who are partially meeting expectations now into the proficient category, and it's been instrumental. And obviously, that was all backed by data and case studies, et cetera. So it's a very informative meeting, and I appreciate the people coming in to present. And I know Ms. Friedman would have said the same thing if she was sitting right here, so.
Mrs. Rogalski, for Health and Wellness Subcommittee update.
Actually, I just wanted to say for the Achievement Committee also, we had the opportunity to meet the new McCourt principal, Javier Gutierrez, and he's wonderful. Felt very good. He was very encouraging about what he's looking to do with McCourt, so I think we're all very excited for that. And I have nothing for Health and Wellness.
I would encourage everyone to maybe go down to McCourt if they have a chance and meet Javier. He's been making a lot of changes within the building to help with just trying to streamline everything that happens there. I'm very excited about the changes coming to McCourt. Next is the public hearing regarding the dual enrollment I-11 policy. There will be no hearing on the dual enrollment because there was no action taken on it. We will have public comment on dual enrollment if anyone from the public would like to speak. Seeing no one, I will now open it up for comments from the public on any issue, really. Anyone? All right, thank you. Old business, discussion and or vote to approve the school bus safety camera enforcement program contract. Dr. Thornton.
Mr. Chair, we're still working through the contract with the attorney from the town and from the school. If we could table that till next meeting?
Yes, Mr. Collins.
I do have a question, though. So I think it's unrealistic, correct me if I'm wrong, that these cameras are going to be operational, regardless of what the, if we were to approve it tomorrow, what do you think the ETA is on how soon these cameras will be in
Yeah,
operation?
these would not be ready for day one. We have 10 minis and 24 large buses, so 34 buses. We'd install them with all due speed, but we wouldn't be opening day one with cameras on all the buses. In my mind, we'd start with the high-volume routes first and work our way out to Pine Swamp. But we'd certainly, start with Diamond Hill, Nate Whipple, that kind of thing. But we'll keep knocking them out. And the company is pretty motivated, so I think should we be able to have an agreement, I think we'll get it done.
I'm sorry, Dr. Thorne, I do have one question regarding the cameras. What about all the, substitute buses that are constantly used throughout the school year? Will they just not have cameras on them, or will they have cameras on them?
We'll have to ask that question, actually put that to the contract, and maybe even make sure the sub-buses have cameras on them as well.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out, did you have a question, Mrs. Rogalski? No? I just want to really thank Chief Benson and the mayor and the town council, of course, for spearheading this. It's a large commitment from the police department, and I appreciate Chief Benson's collaboration on this. Next is what is next? We have the discussion and or vote to approve the superintendent's employment contract. Actually, I guess I'll just speak to it. Mr. Adams worked on the contract. It is essentially a 2-year contract being added to the 1 year that's current. We had the same, pay raise, quite honestly, is the same as the G6 employees, which has been the standard for the last few years. And the CTA, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Collins. And also, there was an adjustment in the superintendent's vacation and sick time, also to be in line with the other members of the G6 group. So if anyone has any questions, I am sure Mr. Groves is ready to answer them. Motion by Mr. Collins, second by Mrs. Feather. Any questions, comments? No? All in favor? Aye. Aye, passes 6-0. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Thornton.
Thank you.
Next is new business. Discussion and or vote to approve overnight student field trips. My computer just blanked out. We will take these all together, I believe. The first being the girls' cross-country trip to Belfast, Maine, the boys' cross-country trip to Manchester, Connecticut, and boys' cross-country to Manchester, New Hampshire. That's the one that had the mistake. We are pleasantly surprised to see Mr. Crowley here once again.
Oh, good evening. Thank you for having me. And before I get going on this, I'd like to echo your sentiments. I was at McCourt's open house this evening for 6th graders, and Mr. Gutierrez and his admin team did a great job. The bleachers worked fantastic. They were packed, and they brought some more chairs out. So Very excited to have the opportunity to work with Mr. Gutierrez. Great things are going to happen at McCormick Middle School, so thank you. So yeah, there are 3 athletic programs that travel traditionally for out-of-state competition: boys cross-country, girls cross-country, and wrestling, but we don't have wrestling dates yet, so we're here for the fall section of this. The boys will compete in Manchester Invitational in Manchester, New Hampshire on September 23rd. They will compete at Wickham Park Invitational in Manchester, Connecticut on October 6th. And the girls, for the 22nd consecutive year, will compete at the Maine Festival of Champions in Belfast, Maine. All three invitationals are high-caliber invitationals. It prepares both our boys and girls teams for championship-caliber season when it comes to the Rhode Island State and New England meet. Ironically, for the girls this year, the New England meet is being held on the exact same course, which we will be running at Belfast. And the other 2 courses which the boys are running are the next 2 in rotation. So it goes New Hampshire, Connecticut, after it goes to Maine. Students will be responsible for all missed schoolwork. The boys are leaving half days on the 22nd and the 5th. The girls on the 29th will take a full day because it's Belfast is about a 4.5 hour ride. So to get the kids there, and by the time we get them lunch and get to the course and run it. Funding for this is provided by the individual booster clubs and by donations through fundraising and by donations to the individual boys and girls cross-country booster club. Every student who meets the standards goes. So at the Maine Festival of Champions, there are times you have to hit in order to participate because they have 6 races. There are 90 high school teams going, and so they clear the course, and if you can't meet a certain time, you don't qualify for that. However, no student, due to any financial situation, every student is allowed to go who would like to go who qualifies. There's no financial restrictions for those students as well. Both teams are transported. The boys are transported by their individual parents. The girls, we do a different technique where we throw them in vans. We rent vans and off we go because it's a longer ride and the day out of work as well. Our chaperones do meet the 10-to-1 ratio for both trips. And the other thing, after we get through this, is a sidebar that, speaking of the New England meet, it's November 11th at Belfast. The state meet is the 4th, so I don't know if I'll have time to get back in front of you prior to that. If we could, I would fill out all the paperwork, and we could provisionally think about doing something at that point in time. It doesn't have to be now, but maybe at the next meeting if you'd like me to come back, because both our boys and girls teams would be represented. I have a strong shot to be represented for the New England Championships held in Belfast, Maine. This is part of the educational process. We are education-based athletics. We are not sports. That's a profession. We are athletics. Athletics is part of the teaching experience. It's an extension of the classroom, and we feel that these field trips are vital to the growth of our student athletes.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Crowley. Does anyone have any questions, concerns? I just want to point out there was a couple of things that I had questions on. I spoke to Mr. Crowley today. He explained everything, and we're going to do a better job of preparing new forms as part of the new field trip policies that Mr. Adams and I are working on, just to clarify everything so everything's right there for everyone to see, much cleaner and easier. And Mr. Collins has made a motion to approve all 3 trips, seconded by Mrs. Rogalski. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye also. Passes 6-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Crowley. Good luck to all the teams.
Thank you for your time.
Next is the vote to approve the ICSI MOA, amendment to the ICSI contract converting certain stipends to wages for senior accountant position. ICSI, of course, is our, I forget, I can't, now I have just, it's past my bedtime, I guess. It is our support staff union, and we have a new MOA covering something. Dr. Thornton, do you want to handle that, or Ms. Drezick? Ms. Drezick, you're up.
Ms. Drezick.
Sorry, I'm short. Thank you. So this MOA just converts a $3,500 stipend for the school food authority stipend into regular wages for the senior accountant. And that would be added through an MOA until we renew the contract, in which it would be added to the contract in the next year.
Can you just remind me what ICSI stands for? I mean, I know it, we know it, but for members of the public?
The Independent Cumberland School Employee.
Of course, thank you. And this is a result of the requirement for the food service audit being done and more responsibilities for the business office.
Correct.
All right. Does anyone have any questions? Comments? Motion by Mrs. Feather, second by the two Amy's, and all in favor? Aye. Aye. Passes 6-0. Thank you, Ms. Drezik. But why don't you just stay right there? Because next up is the vote to approve the ICSI MOA regarding Pump Nursing Mothers Act. If there's no objection, I will take these both together, because we also are going to vote to approve the CTA MOA, Pump Nursing Mothers Act. So, Mrs. Drezik.
Thank you. So both of these address the need to have some language around providing a space and time for our pumping mothers at school. So both of these MOAs basically provide the same thing for our ICSI employees and our CTA members. This provides a space that is a private area that is not a bathroom, that is exclusive. So all pumping has to happen in this room. It is, what has to be provided is a comfortable chair, table, and a mini refrigerator that is exclusive for expressed milk. And we are providing for them a 20-minute pumping session. And so the break requires us to allow them a 20-minute pumping session. So we have to take into consideration travel time to get to that area and set up time for that. And then the second session would happen either on an ICSI break period or during the teacher's prep or unassigned period, again, allowing for that travel and setup time. And then if the pumping mother wants to only use one session, they would be allowed to use the session in which we provide the time for them.
Dr. Thornton or Mrs. Drezik, I'm assuming that with the size of the high school, multiple buildings, there'll be multiple locations?
So for the high school, at the beginning, we would try to set up a central location. Both the high school and community are larger schools. So that's why we have that language in there that provides for a little bit more travel time so that they can set up and have that full session. And then while we get this established, if we can find a secondary location, we would.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? I just want to point out that we will be addressing this through policy as well for all the employees that do not come under the ICSI or CTA agreements. So Mrs. Rogalski makes a motion to approve, second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor? Aye. Passes 6-0. Thank you, Mrs. Drezik. Next, the discussion and or vote to approve the amended policy dual enrollment. As I mentioned earlier, no action was taken, so we will take no action here tonight. Next is the discussion and or vote to approve resolutions, and I turn this over to Mr. Collins.
Good evening, Mr. Fiorello. We have 8 resolutions for the committee tonight, all 8 of which pass fiscal management 3-0, and I'd move passage of SCPI-08 2023-16 through 123 to the entire committee.
So Mr. Collins makes a motion to approve all of the resolutions numbers 1 through 8 on our agenda. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of them? Concerns, comments? Excellent. And Mr. Collins has made the motion, second by who? Mrs. Feather. And all in favor? Aye. Aye. Those resolutions pass 6-0. And next is the discussion and or vote to approve payment of bills.
No bills.
Post, no bills.
Not tonight, next time.
Next is the school committee comments, school liaison reports. Would anyone like to make a comment?
Just want to wish everybody well. We're a week or so away from starting in the classrooms again, and I know that Dr. Thornton and the team have been working really hard to get everything all ready. So best of luck to everyone starting, and fingers crossed that everything goes successfully, especially the bus runs, as we know the first 2 weeks are always a little bit trying, but we'll get through it together.
And I'd just like to give my hats off to the custodial and maintenance folks who have been working unbelievably to get all these buildings ready, especially at Garvin and the trans for Ashton for going up there. And quite honestly, the hours that Mr. DeJesus has been putting in has been nothing short of, it's like an Ironman competition that he is winning. So thank you, Mr. DeJesus. Dr. Thornton, I am assuming that we do not have any, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped you.
Just wanted to say that I know there's been some discussion online whether the Free Meals for Students Act has passed in the state. It passed the state Senate. It did not pass the state House. They did not bring it to the floor. So that is not in effect for the upcoming school year. We know Massachusetts just passed it. It is not in effect for us. So please, if you have need, if you think you have need, please fill out the free and reduced lunch form. We know that there are barriers to it. We know that there is society pressures to not do it, embarrassment, fear, whatever. But please, if you need it or if you think you need it, please fill it out or reach out to your school for assistance in doing that.
Hi, I just wanted, this is under my role as the town council liaison, so not directly related to schools, but I do want to thank the town council, the mayor, particularly Councilor McGill. Sunday, there's going to be a presentation at St. Joseph's, historic St. Joseph's Church on Mendon Road, where I'm a parishioner, celebrating 150th anniversary. One of the oldest churches, Catholic churches in Rhode Island, and the mayor will be issuing a citation, and the governor's office. The governor will not be there, but I also want to thank Mr. Craig Dwyer, former town councilor who works in Governor McKee's office, who will also be issuing a citation. So I think it's not necessarily school, but it's kind of a big deal for town. So so congratulations to St. Joseph's, and thank you again to the town council, the mayor, and the governor's office.
I just want to piggyback on what Mrs. Rogalski said about signing up for free and reduced lunch. It's not like the olden days where the child had, a card where they had to present it. Everything is done right through the school accounts, so nobody knows anything. It's just all within the computer system. And if any family needs help filling out those forms, whether there's a language barrier or anything else, and these forms are legitimately just about free and reduced lunch. No other issues are being considered except for a child's need to be able to receive benefits. And they're not reported anywhere. So if you need help, reach out to your school. The school is happy to help you. Mr. Collins.
And you just reminded me of one more thing. Back this started at Achievement back in the late winter. There is a position, it should be posted now, the community facilitator position. This is a really unique opportunity for the right person. I know Ms. Dresig was talking about we have to get the classrooms filled, but this position will be designed to do community outreach for families, and free and reduced lunch is one of them. It is preferred that the person is bilingual, somebody who has connections to the bilingual community. So we're looking for the right person, and if we can find the right person, this position is going to be very, very important. We'll help with truancy, interpreter services, and it will just really lighten the load for many of the teachers who are wearing many, many hats right now. So it's a pretty good hourly salary. What's the hourly? 20, do you know offhand? Yeah, and it's and it's like mother's hours, so or parents' hours. So anybody who I don't want Kerry Feather yelling at me. So parents' hours. So if you're looking for,
I was a stay-at-home dad for all
it's
this.
one of my goals. But it is, if you know of anybody who falls in that category, you can look at the Cumberland website. This is a great opportunity for the right person. So I'm really eager to see that position get filled. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Thank you, everyone. Dr. Thornton, no executive session we discussed?
We do not.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by Mrs. Feather. Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor? Aye. Passes 6-0. We are adjourned at 7:40.